sure you watch the whole thing in context before you just watch a clip of it and then, speak on it for the next 20 or 30 minutes. Because to me, that's what an intellectual should do, right? Like, that's what an intelligent person should do. An intelligent person should get the whole context of something before they comment on it, instead of watching like 2 or 3 minutes of something and then actually taking the clip out of context. Because if you watch the clip in context, Mark was actually wrong. If there's a right or wrong in the situation, Mark was actually the one who was wrong in that situation, so much so that he even came back and apologized, the next week. And the conversation just kind of made me feel a way like, damn, like that's how we look at each other as Black people.
Can I ask, Tiff, I want you to go here because this is Tiff's conversation, but I do want to. This was Tiff's idea. Tiff is ready to claim that, and we're fine. We all weighed in. We all said what we said. But I have a quick question for you, and this is a focus group for this podcast. How many of you all were in Jack and Jill? Raise your hands. How many of you all have any sorority or fraternity affiliation? Raise your hands. How many of you all are in the Lynx? I quit. I was in the Lynx. How many of you all are in the Boulé? Raise your hands. I'm doing that because Andrew was the most relatable person to them, per their own commentary, and Andrew's the only one who was in the Boulé. We are not even in the Boulé, so we get labeled for stuff that we're not even in. But
well, I didn't hear Charlamagne say that.
No, he didn't. He said Jack and Jill of y'all.
Yeah, yeah. But I want to say to set the record straight, because I hear what Charlamagne is saying, and I think a lot of comments echoed that. My personal background aside, I want to say that as a journalist, before I bring up anything on this show, I want our viewers to know I have indeed done my due diligence. So I didn't just watch the clip. How I prepared for that segment, I didn't pay for Patreon, but I did read the transcript of what happened. I even understood the word in question that was tricky was allude. I understood that the conversation was about payment discrepancy. I spoke to Mark before I did the segment. I looked at literacy rates before I did the segment. I watched a few clips, or not clips, but segments, different segments from Joe Budden's podcast before I did the segment. And I will say, I stand by what I said. My perspectives and opinions don't sway in the winds of public opinion. Sometimes the cheese will stand alone. I do think there is very much a toxic landscape that is fueled by a lot of podcast bros. But I definitely agree with you, Charlamagne. Before you have an interview with anybody, before you sit down and speak on something, I would advise anyone to be well informed, whether it's politics, sports, anything like that. And so I don't think that the issue was that the collective was not well informed. I don't think that was my perspective. I think the issue that a lot of people felt is they felt attacked. And so I want to be clear that I wasn't saying who was an intellectual and who was not. My perspective was there is an anti-intellectual movement ravaging the Black community. I also want to be clear that I was not saying that no one should talk to Flip or Joe Budden. Certainly somebody should. Someone should be reaching out to them. That's not my ministry. Things I care about are the incarcerated and puppies. Most importantly, pit bulls. I don't like that tens of thousands of them get euthanized every month. It breaks my heart. I think about the incarcerated all the time.
What's going on, everybody? I hope you're enjoying the show so far. Apparently, I had to pause it right there to let y'all know to make sure to like, share, and subscribe. This is your Silver Stranger 01. Also, she's mistaken. I think if she didn't care, she wouldn't have commented to begin with. How about that? Alright. Let's get back in Charlamagne and this lady get into it. Alright. Let's enjoy it.
I don't want our Black men and women in prison thinking they're forgotten about. I think it's a bit arrogant of me to say Angela, Bakari, Andrew, y'all should be talking to the incarcerated. That's not their ministry. But if Angela feels like, no, those are the people, or you, Charlamagne, if you feel like, no, those are the very people I want to be speaking to, then by all means, go do that. I'm saying it's hard to fill a cup that's already full. So if I'm telling you something and you're insulting me for my intelligence, I don't need to be where fools gather. So I stand on what I said. I'm not disrespecting any of them, but I just want to be clear. Our viewers know I never come on this podcast ever without being very well informed and researched and fact checked. And a fact check is not a 30-second Google search before I come on this show. It takes a lot of work to prepare for anything I introduce. And I would hope that we all do that.
Well, Tiff, it's interesting. You say you like talking to the incarcerated. Like, who do you think the incarcerated are listening to? Like, the incarcerated are listening to things like the Joe Budden podcast. Like, they're listening to, places like the Breakfast Club. Like, that's who they're actually tuning into. I know because I go speak at the jails. I was at Rikers Island a couple of weeks ago with Shaka Singh Kaur. I know when, these brothers from Rikers Island are writing into the Breakfast Club and telling me, like, what they like to listen to, what they like to read. So if you are trying to reach the incarcerated, you got to go where the incarcerated is at. Like,
I go directly into the prisons as well through a teaching program and also through a journalism program that I've talked about here. Prison journalism is a project that I support. So I'm not necessarily trying to talk to Joe Budden to talk to the incarcerated. I'm trying to talk directly to the incarcerated. I don't want to air out anybody's business, but I got people in my immediate family who are the incarcerated, which is another thing. I think it's important for people to understand. I am not. I don't think that intellect has anything to do with degrees, pedigree, how much money you make, because I saw a lot of times they all make more money than you. I know a lot of rich fools, and I know a lot of degreed idiots. I've sat across from tables of CEOs who I did not find terribly intelligent. I went to school with a lot of debutantes that I don't find terribly intelligent. It's not a diss to them, but I wouldn't necessarily put them in that category either. I think it's important. I just want people to know I don't come from, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. In my family right now, I'm not of that world. And I don't think, what we call like elitism, I don't necessarily think being of that world is a bad thing. I also don't believe in putting people down because you did grow up privileged or because you did have parents who had multiple degrees or money. None of these things makes you a bad person. To me, what I find frustrating is when you are not receptive or curious. I don't need to talk to people wherever you are, whatever your background is. If you're not receptive or curious, then you are likely not my audience and I'm likely not yours. I am curious about things. I can learn from anybody.
I would agree with her to an extent. I'm wondering, what does she mean by curious? What does she mean by receptive, especially?
But I don't necessarily respect everybody's opinion. And I don't think all the people say I respect everybody's opinion. Use a lie. I don't believe that. There are people there. Go ahead.
Can you be intellectually curious without respecting everybody's opinion?
Yes. You looking at somebody who's intellectually curious without respecting everybody's opinion.
Because I consider myself intellectually curious, so I'm the type of person that I'm gonna hear you out. I may not want to hear you again, but I'm gonna at least take the opportunity to listen to you at least one time.
No, there's a gentleman by the name of Corey. He is a lovely person. He happens to be schizophrenic and homeless, and he's in the front of my building. And he has an opinion on everything. And I sit there and chat with Corey sometimes just because he's so nice and so sweet, and I give him bread because he likes to feed the birds. I don't respect Corey's opinion on anything. He got opinion on the financial systems and the banks and all the things that he wants to tell me about. I'm nice to him. I'm kind to him. I give him bread. I would be lying to you to say I respect Corey's opinion. You had to speak to him.
You had to speak to him at least one time to understand that.
Yes, I can speak to anybody. Yeah. I'm never saying I don't speak to anybody. But once I ascertain, you are not a curious person. Once you are saying things to me like you using tricky words, and this isn't just a center flip in that conversation because I'm really trying to broaden this out into anybody who's incurious. Once you are clear to me that you are not curious about what I have to say, when I would interview different like men on the street interviews during the Obama race, and people would say the most ignorant things to me. Or when you would hear lazy reporters go out to Trump rallies and they would say, well, Obama gave Iran millions of dollars. He's in cahoots with Iran and he's a Muslim. I don't respect your opinion anymore. Now, you sound like a fool. And I'm giving you reason right there in real time, challenging you. But I can't fill a cup that's already full. So now, no, I don't respect your opinion. And Bakari said this is South Carolina saying, but I think all black folks say this. If I'm arguing with a fool from a distance, you can't tell the difference. I don't need to be where fools gather. If somebody else feels called to say, no, it is my ministry to go inform, to go educate this particular group of people, I would never shit on that. That's just not even my way. I'm like, live and let live, go do it. That's just not what I choose to do.
I understand. I guess the issue comes, and I can't believe I'm on here defending the Joe Budden podcast, right? but I guess the issue is, I don't think fools go together at the Joe Budden podcast. I don't think anybody in that room...
I didn't say that, for the record.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in that room is a fool. And I also feel like, we should be happy that people like Mark Lamont Hill want to be on big black platforms. I think that's the biggest problem I have right now is that, we tend to knock, certain platforms when what we should be doing is infiltrating those platforms. I know everybody likes to, go at Stephen A. Smith. I want to see more black elected officials, more black politicians, more black spiritual leaders, more black activists, more black people with something to say about black issues go on platforms like Stephen A. Smith. Because all the white elected officials are taking advantage of it.
Do you know why they're taking advantage of it? Because they're laughing at a fool. That when people because I think that's such an important point. White politicians are going on there because they are elevating him to a position, and they only do this specifically in the black community. They are elevating him into a position that he did not earn. He is an expert in sports. And so you will have white people all the time pluck an entertainer, right? Whatever he expert in is not politics, is not policy.
But
and if you're going to pluck an entertainer...
He has an audience.
An audience does not equate to intellect or intelligence.
You guys,
I'm not
saying
I want to hear what you have to say about defending Stephen. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not saying it does. I'm just saying these black people who have these large audiences, instead of sitting on the sidelines complaining about them having a large audience and who didn't earn what, how about go on that platform and deliver some of that truth or some of that intellect that you have to his audience? Even if you sit around and you talk about, you saying about the person that sits outside of your stoop and they have a lot of misinformation, or you talk about the people that were saying the things about Obama. Those people will continue to have misinformation if somebody doesn't go to them and inform them.
But this was the point that you missed. I'm sorry. Let me just respond, please. This is the point that maybe you missed. I'm saying when I'm trying to inform you, when I'm saying, no, that is actually not true about Obama, and somebody saying, yes, it is, because, okay, you are not curious at that point. You are not receptive. Right. Is full. You don't want to hear what I have to say. Number two, I'm not complaining about anyone having a large audience. I'm complaining about who his audience is. He has a large audience of mostly conservative white folks, and they are treating him. This is no diss to Stephen. Do you have data to back
that up, Tiffany? Do you have statistics that say Stephen A. Smith's audience is majority conservative white folks?
I do. Nielsen ratings, or his ESPN show, Nielsen ratings qualifies that.
Well, no, that's ESPN. I'm talking about his podcast, because most of the time when he's spewing political takes.
I don't know.
For the record, that's her mic, not mine. I know my mic is terrible for some of you guys, but that's hers. Okay.
His podcast. I just know he built his audience on a majority of white people. So I don't, and I would love to dig into, and I'm happy to come on here next week, because I would love to somebody to prove to me that his audience is a majority of black people.
See, that's a feeling, but that's a fact. So does that make you anti-intellectual because you're spewing feelings instead of actual
No,
facts?
but it's not even. I'm going to respond to this. It's not even a feeling, though.
It's literally 5 minutes left in the conversation.
But I want to respond to what he said.
You guys haven't let anybody else weigh in here.
I'll weigh in, but I'm going to respond to this. He said that's a feeling or an opinion. Not necessarily. It's somewhat informed, because if you look at who his audience, how he built his audience, the suggestion that a majority of his audience would be comprised of black people is not a well-informed one. It's logic to say most of his audience are white people. Are you suggesting that most of his audience are black people?
I don't know what most of his audience is, but I know I started, reading Stephen A's columns when he was writing for the Philadelphia Inquirer, when he was covering Allen Iverson way back in the day. And then I followed him to Cold Pizza and First Take and everything else. I think that this new, political Stephen A with a conservative audience is relatively new. So I would, before these white people were talking about him, it was majority black people in the barbershop that was talking about Stephen A. But I'm just talking about the audience in general. Like, you said Mark Lamont Hill shouldn't be on Joe Budden's show. Why? You said
Did I say he shouldn't be?
You actually said he should be on CNN.
Yes. So that's the difference between saying he should not be on Joe Budden. I'm saying he should be on CNN because he should have never gotten fired from CNN. If Mark is happy on Joe Budden's podcast, more power to it. What I said was they lack an understanding of Mark. I felt like he's disrespected on that podcast based on clips that I had seen. What Angela said, and Angela caught a lot of strays for things I said, so I want to be clear. What Angela referenced was a moment where they dismissed his humanity on that show when he talked about his friends being killed in Palestine. And I do think that is based on what I've seen, I do think that is a consistent pattern where I do feel like Mark is not necessarily well received there. But Angela wants to get other people in, so I'll be quiet.
I will say Joe did apologize.
Leonard and Tiffany, it's more than just you two in here. Just hold on. But Joe, you the one that got a heart out. Let me get these dudes in here.
I know, but Joe did apologize.
This is crazy.
But Joe did apologize for that moment.
We gonna get to all that if you two will let somebody else talk.
We can continue, Charlamagne, another time. I'm happy to.
Oh my God, yo, like, somebody tell them about their mics already. I'm gonna cut it down for you guys, God.
I'm here with 30 minutes to go next time. Charlamagne, to be continued.
Damn. Bakari, go. You was trying to talk 20 minutes ago.
I got till like 1:10, 1:15.
Oh, now you got time. God damn it. Go ahead, B.
I was just appreciating watching the mini pod that we just saw.
I know we the invisible man, bro.
It's a good conversation.
It's a good conversation. It was all right. My only criticism of us, I think, as we approach these discussions is that a part of that intellectual curiosity that we all must have, we must be able to accept criticism without necessarily being defensive, and that being our immediate posture to it. And one of the things that I saw in the comments and
I guess that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, Charlamagne, going hand to hand with Tiffany Cross and Angela Rye, and they had a good back and forth. Remember to like and share, like, share, and subscribe to Silver Stranger 01. And we shall keep these videos pumping. That was a good back and forth. They got a lot of tenacity. For some reason, they don't want men talking, especially not black men. Now that we have found our voice, we shall continue the talk. Alright. Peace out, my silver strangers.